So grid's down, lights are out, and this actually happened to us a couple years ago. Big storm hits, you have no power. Can you use your car, right? Can you use your car as power? And it's something I've talked about before. It's the idea of a affordable backup power system is just an inverter, right? You can't afford a full solar generator. You just want to get an inverter to run off your car. So this is a 1,000-watt power inverter. It's not pure sine wave, which generally means it's not going to be the best option for sensitive electronics, but this was $100. 1,000-watt pure sine wave is going to be more like $300, so you pay a lot to go pure sine wave. So is this safe? Is this safe just to plug into your car, right? You don't want to buy the fancy solar generator. You just want to get an inverter. You want to plug it into your car. So at 1,000 watts, it's probably not the best idea to run off your car. You'd probably want to stay 400 watts or less, and that really depends your car or your car battery if you're worried about damaging the battery, right? If it's Shtf, zombie apocalypse, something like that, and you happen to go around the neighborhood collecting car batteries, sure, you could run it on this if you're not worried about damaging the battery. If you are, probably not the best, right? You want to go something much smaller. Something I like about this inverter is it actually has a usage chart, and some people have a hard time visualizing, as it would, what's 1,000 watts? What can you run on 1,000 watts? And it's actually on the box of the inverter. I won't read them all off to you, but you start out at 8-watt inverter would get you a cordless screwdriver. Jump up to, we'll say 75 watts as an inkjet printer or a laptop computer. Get you in that 90-watt range, an incandescent light bulb, 100-watt light bulb. I don't think we have those anymore. Video game consoles, 120 watts. Desktop computers, 150 watts. We'll jump a little bit, 50-inch TV, 300 watts. Orbital sander is 400 watts. And a hedge trimmer is 450 watts. So once again, if you're going to run it off your car, and you don't want to damage your car's electrical system, you probably don't want to go much higher than that. And really, it depends, obviously, on your car, your battery, the health of the electrical system. This is 1,000 watts, so we can keep going. It can run a hedge trimmer, string trimmer, portable vacuum, blender, 3/8-inch corded drill, reciprocating saw, belt sander. It takes you up to 950 watts. So I didn't get this necessarily to run as a backup system for my car. Actually going to build a solar power system, lighting system for my turkey coop, and I happen to have this. It's just a backup inverter, right? So can you run it in your car? And it comes with the cords, which is useful, right? Something like this, 1,000 watts. If you did plug it into your car battery, you couldn't use a cigarette lighter, right? You need direct cables, but I want to talk about that a little bit. So standard car battery gets you between 45 and 75 amp hours. So if you convert that to watts, so it's amps times volts gets you watts. It's Ohm's law. So it's a 12-volt car battery. We'd be talking about the battery in your car. 45 amps times 12 volts is 540 watts. 75 amps times 12 volt is 900 watts. So generally your car battery is going to be in that range. So if it's a lead acid battery, we're not necessarily talking about a starter battery, which is probably what your car has, you wouldn't want to run it below 50%. So that would be 270 watts to 450 watts on a standard battery, which gets you 15 to 30 minutes at 1,000 watts. And that's not a lot at 50%. So you're not going to run a ton at the 1,000 watt range. You could double that if you're below the 500 watt range or more, depending on how much power you're using. Now you're talking 30, 60 minutes, something like that on one car battery. Now the car battery is a starter battery. They do kind of the 10-90 rule on car batteries, which is say you don't want to really discharge them below 10% unless you're not worried about damaging, right? There's a risk of damage if you go below 10%, which that means you'd get like between 54 watts and 90 watts, which runs 1,000 watts from like 3 minutes before you risk damaging your battery if your car is off. So you'd want to be very careful on that, using a large inverter in your car, right? If you don't care about damaging the car, once again, apocalypse, zombies, anything going on like that, you've scavenged 12-volt batteries, you can run them, right? You can run it for a while, and that could be an emergency backup power if you're not worried about damaging your car, once again, right? So they're saying if you wanted, it says, while the car's electrical system is generally not capable of directly supporting a 1,000-watt inverter, a car can run a high power inverter by upgrading the battery, installing additional power wiring, and using it while the engine is running, right? And once again, that the engine, the alternator, and the engine does charge your car battery, and that's what you would need, right? You need to charge because the battery itself isn't going to last you very long. You have to be careful if you're running anything this big, even while the car is running. You do risk damaging the electrical system at the 1,000 watt. If you're talking more like 400 watt inverter, you're probably a lot safer, but always be careful. We don't want to fry our cars messing around with inverters. There's things you can do, right? If you're off-roader or anything like that, you have your RV and you're running an inverter, charging the generators and whatnot, charging your batteries. There are things you can do to upgrade your vehicle. But in terms of just getting an inverter, that's my backup power system. So we sort of did that for a while before we put in the solar backup power system. That's what I have. That's my backup power. If the power goes out, which it has for us, we'll just use that. You just have to be careful. Probably nothing this big, right? Probably not your 1,000 watt. You can get power though, right? So I have made videos on that before, is in Shtf. If you just have an inverter, you can go around and round up 12 volt batteries. Potentially we're surrounded by them all the time. But trying to use those for any length of time is probably going to damage the battery, right? So just want to put that as a word of caution. It can work as an emergency power supply. You're better off with something like the deep cycle battery, the lithium ion batteries, even the heavy lead acid deep cycle batteries. Those are sort of my favorite. Those will get you a lot more power longer. But if all you have is the 12 volt car batteries, you can use them with your inverter, which would potentially give this as a plan B, plan C. Just buy the inverter, have it there. If there's a big grid down, if there's a long power out, start lining up those 12 volts, right? You can do it. You're better off if you wire a few together, and always be careful, right? Anytime you're messing with electricity, connecting batteries, if you do it wrong, if you mess it up, you can get electrocuted. So obviously be careful on batteries, do it the right way. Just get a sense for the capabilities of the batteries. You don't want to melt batteries or anything like that. So it's kind of a 50-50, right? Yes, a good inverter can be a backup power system. All you need is your car, but you have to be careful, right? Put a lot of cautions on that. I'm not sure I was having this many cautions in mind when I was kind of laying out the video, but there does need to be the cautionary statement. You can damage your car, damage the battery, damage all sorts of stuff, but emergency, you're probably okay. So probably looping on that. Hope that helps out. As always, thank you for watching, and we appreciate you.